Hello.
Hello, friend.
How are you? You doing good?
I'm doing good. I'm doing better. I'm doing better.
Okay.
This
That's
last
what
this last 48 was rough, but we better.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
How are
Um,
you doing? Because I know you have been out and about, shenanigans in Vegas and traveling.
I'm so tired. I don't know why I didn't take time off. I should have said time. I didn't. And now I'm paying for it.
Yeah, see, I learned my lessons from years past to where if I have the availability, especially now I have the unlimited PTOs basically, I always take the Tuesdays off. And
Mm-hmm.
even sometimes if I'm going, like had
Mm-hmm.
I gone, I would have taken Wednesday too cuz I know you need a full 24-hour detox, and sometimes it carries over to like 48 hours because then it's the traveling, it's all the events.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying this when I was doing the night 1 stream with the True Hill Heat boys, like Thursday through Sunday is like the roughest stretch because it's everything going
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
on top of like, so you have the wrestling shows, you have your WrestleCons, your Wale Manias, your after parties, WrestleMania, SmackDown, Hall of Fame. You have midnight shows to where you really don't sleep Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's like Sundays when it's like, okay, maybe I can start to sleep in, but then that's 72 hours straight of like, we're going, 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 going. And if you stay Sunday, Monday, that's 5 straight days of like, I need a detox. It's almost like a party, but the
Yeah.
party lasted 5 days.
Right.
And now it's like, I don't want to see alcohol. I don't want to see party favors. I
Right.
don't want to see DJ streamers or none of this for like a month.
No, not at all. Not at all. Um, it was an interesting weekend. I'm definitely struggling today. Um, I didn't go to night one. Went to night two, had an amazing time. Um, but the one thing I will say, there were a lot of folks that were out there that I didn't get to see. And I'm not really sure why I didn't get to see them because the guys saw them, right? Like, for instance, Lo from Wrestling Wind Down,
Hmm.
I saw, I didn't see her at all. She was at Wilding Mania and she was at Circuit because we wanted to watch night one at Circuit. She was there. So that was weird. Um, Meek, I saw once.
Uh huh.
I saw her at Heels. Or did I see her? No, I didn't even see her at say. I saw her at Heels. And I saw her from afar. Marty McFlyer, then you, same thing. I saw her afar. Oh, hey, Dapper Dan. Dapper Dan, if you want to come through, request. Because I would love Dapper Dan was at Dapper Dan minus DDM was
Oh,
at night
oh, I know who
one.
Dapper Dan is. Shout out
No,
DDM.
no, because I don't want to get no copyright infringement shit. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
so I don't know where the hell the man is lurking. But it was an interesting vibe. Like from the time we landed to the that first day, especially with all the Roman talk, it was really, really weird. And I was completely thrown off. Legitimately, I was. Like Thursday, I didn't know how to react to it. I was a little like shocked, but I knew I wasn't shocked. I knew I knew that there was a possibility that he could be on that side of the fence politically, but I didn't think that it would come out, right? I didn't think that he would be so like outward with it, right? So that's
Yeah.
one. And two, I didn't also think that um like while the pictures were cool, there were some cool pictures.
Mhm.
I was a little
Interesting
shocked.
pictures. There's
I
some
was
interesting
shocked
pictures.
for
Like your
him.
man sitting there smiling in a robe. Like, wait, what is it? What article is this? Why is Roman
For
throwing thirst
him.
traps?
For him. Like literal thirst traps. I was like, I thought they were AI photos. Legitimately, I thought I was about to tweet like, why y'all keep, making these stupid AI photos? It's a, I can't stand AI photos. I was just observing the fucking
Hmm.
picture, and I was like, this feels super grainy. This does not feel like these are AI photos. And then I'm scrolling through the timeline, and then I see these little hints of somebody saying Trump supporter and Roman, and it's still not clicking. It still wasn't clicking to me until I saw the Vanity Fair tweet, and I was like, I clicked the link and I saw the pictures, and I was like, what? Like I was just like, huh?
Yeah, it was a long
Like
article. There was
as
like a bunch
machismo
of
as
things in
you
that
do.
article.
Yeah, I actually got a physical copy. I have not read it as of yet because I was just in this state of shock, honestly. And it was more, again, state of shock that he would even admit that in an article, like especially in these times, especially him having, a black wife, half black children that, you know, shit is being affected. Like you're half Samoan, dude. Like, what? My girlfriend was like, maybe he wants to go back to Samoa. I was like, he's not even born there. Like, what are you talking about? But it was just very odd, very weird. And Thursday was just a very weird day for me. And I was just so ready for it to reset. I remember BDM and I were in the car. I think we were in a car going somewhere. I forgot where we were going. And he said, tomorrow is a reset. Tomorrow we start again. And that gave me a little bit of
Hmm.
solace because I really was in a state in a complete daze that day. Even starting from that week, I just felt like I wasn't into the trip. I was excited to be with my friends, but I wasn't excited for the event like I normally am. Normally, you know me. I always buy tickets in advance, and I didn't. I usually buy backup tickets just in case, and I didn't. Like I was just in a really weird spot.
Hmm.
So then the next day, like I kind of snapped out of it, and it was okay. It was fine. Like and then it got better, you know what I mean? Because we were together and we would see folks. Um, and then it was whatever it was. But that was the energy was weird. I did see Jonathan. Shout out to Jonathan in the chat. I saw him and his crew. Um at the meet and greet. It was good seeing him in person. I got to see Jermaine. I saw Rock. I saw Marty McFly's venues from a
Hmm.
distance. Like I saw a couple of people, but it didn't feel like past manias before, where you're like in the mix, when you're in it with folks. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like that. It felt like you were passing people by, and I think um, Vegas feels very big. It doesn't feel like it didn't feel like LA. LA is a big city, but it felt like a community in LA. And
Hmm.
it didn't feel like that in Vegas. It felt like folks were spread out. And it could have been because there was a mixture in the city of um tourists that weren't there for WrestleMania and folks that were there for WrestleMania. So it just felt like the wrestling was there, but it was drowned into the aura of the city, if that makes a little bit of
It
sense.
does. It does. And then you also gotta look at it from with the two night manias and like since it's been post pandemic, it feels like the wrestling community has kind of split into different crowds of like you have certain people that only do the indie shows. They're not there for WWE or the
Mhm,
big stuff.
mhm.
You have some people that are there just for WWE related stuff. So if it's not WWE, they're not doing it. You and I have friends that go there to work it. So they're doing press. So that means they're doing all the press junkets. They're doing the press thing after Mania and stuff like that. So they're kind of off to their own stuff because they're content creating. And like whether it's WWE or whether it's at WrestleCon with like the AEW and indie talents, like they're working. And then you have the rest of us who are like ebbs and flowing and freestyling with, if we run into people, let's do this. If we go to Wall Mania, we can link up. If we go to Andreas' thing, we can link up. But if otherwise, if we run into each other, cool. If not, you know, everyone's to their own little
It didn't
ecosystem.
feel like that though. Yeah, but it felt very distant. It felt very distant. Like even though you saw, like we did see the people that were working the junkets. Like I did see Brian H. Portis. I did see Cam. I saw those folks, but even they felt like it was weird. Like they were there, but it was weird. Like they were. It was foggy. It felt like that. But
Interesting.
yeah. But let's get into the
Yeah,
let's get into this interesting event.
yeah, because a
Um.
lot happened. Like, and you kicked it off. Like Thursday kicked off in such the weirdest way with the Roman article that took over the morning and afternoon of like, jeez, this is how we're starting this off. And on top of,
Mhm.
it wasn't just the Roman article. It was also, I think,
Triple
Triple
H.
H doing McAfee and kind of like
Mhm.
hooking off on the fans for a second time. Basically, like the IWC, like shut the fuck up and watch type of
And
energy.
so,
And
but
it was
it's
feeling like at home we were like, yo, did WWE's PR team just like take a vacation? Because everyone's wilding at the same time, and this is just Thursday.
yeah, it felt like it was intent. They were intentionally trying to step. They were intentionally trying to alienate the podcast world, I kind of feel like, because he made mention of you used to like this thing, you enjoyed watching it, and then somebody told you to do this thing, and then you became critical and you forgot why you love it, right? And I don't think that's the mindset of how I got into it. I fell on podcasting. Like nobody told me to go talk about podcasting and about wrestling and I. But thank you so much. Nobody told me to do that.
Hmm.
I did it because I like-minded people invited me. Every time I've been on a podcast, I've been invited to come talk about it. And so it just felt very weird that the people that basically helped build this fan base and help bring eyes to this product that at one point, although the product was shit. I remember like 2017, 2016 to 2018 was a might have been the most painful time of the product. It was painful to watch.
Hmm.
It was painful to even um it was painful to even be on the timeline, right?
Yeah, that
And
wasn't good.
from then to the pandemic, we were forced to kind of like go back, rewatch a lot of the shit that, we saw from before because the product was in a different space and we all had time because we were in the house. And I think the resurgence of the podcasts really revved up during the pandemic, right? And it forced them because it was all eyes on them. So it forced them it forced Vince to put people that weren't in the performance center or in that little space bubble that they created. It forced him to throw spaghetti on the wall with talent that he had to work with to see what stuck and what didn't.
Hmm.
Then we got out. Then he tried. Then I felt like that experiment exposed people, but it also brought out the best in some people. And so gradually, people that maybe didn't watch before that came back started liking the product, right?
Yeah.
I found Twitter, Black wrestling Twitter during the pandemic. So now the fan base and just the collective has completely grown. And for you to go on a big platform and say, like, essentially, be quiet and take what I'm giving you after we just came, we've been through this roller coaster with you. I wasn't with y'all when y'all was watching when it would like the roster was really bad. I think it was like 2002, 2003 when it was terrible. When barely anybody was watching.
Yeah.
Now you got new Gen Zers that are watching that are super critical, that will cancel you in a minute. And yeah, you might be too big to be canceled, but just to be that fucking presumptuous, like just to say, shut the fuck up and take what I'm giving you, and we don't want your opinion. When the opinion and Occupy Raw, when Occupy Raw happened, that was an opinion. That was an opinion of a fan base that morphed into something huge. And you're telling us to shut the fuck up? I couldn't believe it. I
Yeah,
thought it was a joke.
and it's weird because it's like it's double standards because like so you're telling us to shut up and watch, but yet you're sending us surveys after every PLE to ask what do
Remember
we
the
like,
fan?
what do we didn't like, the fan
Mm-hmm.
council. You're doing these press conference
Mm-hmm.
with a
Mm-hmm.
lot of
The fan
these.
council.
You're doing this press conferences with a lot of these content creators that you're also kind of telling them to shut up and watch. But these
Mm-hmm.
content creators help grow your product because like you said, the Gen Zers and the younger kids, they live through YouTube, they live through social media clips, they live through these watch parties and these contents, and not everyone shits all over your product. But if it's
Mm-hmm.
bad, then at least they have the guts to call it out and say like, yo, this has
Mm-hmm.
been bad or this has been inconsistent. Why is this person not getting booked and whatnot? And the optics don't look
Mm-hmm.
good. And
Right.
you gotta be able to take that optics. You can't be like you can't control the narratives. You can't be like we want everyone to have voice their opinion, but we want to control what's being said. Can't do that. But we could easily pivot. So let's put this in on a positive spin. Let's get to some wrestling. Did you go so SmackDown? Did you watch that?
Can you hear me? Can you
Yeah,
hear
now
me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm in
Yeah,
the elevator.
got you. So let's swing this to a positive. SmackDown. Did you end up catching that?
On what we just said, but if you want to chime in, Didi, feel free before we move.
Yeah, sure. Hey guys. So yeah,
Wh-
SmackDown.
What up?
What's going on? SmackDown. I did watch it. It was good. Well, what am I saying? It was okay. Um,
Hmm.
I can't remember it, and that's kind of
Right. That's better. Yeah.
what it,
Yeah.
yeah. I can't remember it.
And I
I
too, I
can't
can't
remember it.
remember it. I've always said that I'm really bad at I have bad match memory and I can't remember it either. Uh,
Yeah, I can't
I
remember
know that we didn't
SmackDown at
watch it
all.
together. We didn't watch
Right.
it together because of Heels was gonna be at like fucking we didn't know Heels was gonna start at 1:30 in the morning. Um, but it started super late. And so we all kind of like was trying to take it out. I think you were seeing Bianca, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, no, that was earlier. Yeah, that was Thursday, but that was in like
Oh, that was
the
Thursday.
late
That was Thursday.
afternoon. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the late afternoon. So that was Thursday, but no SmackDown. I don't really recall it. But Naomi had her nice moment, which was great.
Yeah.
Um, I really
Was that
feel
on
like
SmackDown?
honestly, yeah, honestly, I feel like the ticket that I paid for WrestleMania, I should have just bought a ticket to Monday Night Raw. If I'm
Hmm.
being honest, that's the ticket I should have paid for. Um,
Mm.
I think Raw was a very good show.
yeah,
Raw
that
was a
that's that's
really good show.
that's what I should have paid for. I paid for night one, which I got to see the matches. On paper, night one looked like the better card, but
Yeah.
night two, that triple threat just stole the show, and it to me that was the match of the weekend. If I'm being honest, um,
Yes.
but I just to be honest, and I want to put a positive spin on. I think it was great seeing the people, but I think that there's we're looking at this through a certain lens. There's a tale of two WrestleManias, right?
Hmm.
Yep.
And for most of us on this chat, we are all people of color. So
Mhm.
to us, WrestleMania this weekend looks a certain kind of way.
Mhm.
To another group of people, WrestleMania looks a different kind of way. And I
Right.
think that's one thing we had to kind of think about. I will say this though, across the board, there's a general consensus that people did not get what they paid for. And that's whether
Yes.
you're white, black, or whatever. That's one thing I did notice.
Yep.
Some people have a different spin on certain things, the Roman things and stuff like that. But across the board, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, the general consensus has been that people did not get what they paid for and the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. And I think that, and we talk about this, Mimi, a lot.
Yep.
You
Mhm.
know, the people who keep this product alive are people who, you know, save up, spend their money. These kids that, you know, some of them may work greeter jobs at Walmart, they work in supermarkets, things like that. Those are the people that keep the thing alive. It is not
Mhm.
the celebrities. It is not, you know, um, the cool kids who are now watching wrestling because it's in vogue and it's chic at the moment. They don't keep the product alive. They give the product a burst and a spark,
Yeah.
but they don't. We saw this in the Attitude Era. They don't keep the product alive. And I think with this Vegas WrestleMania in particular, it was overpriced. I think Vegas as a city has priced itself out of itself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's the first thing. Then you have what in years past would have been fan access where people didn't have to pay $85 to go look at memorabilia. Now you're charging people $85 to look at memorabilia in addition to paying to see their favorite superstars. And then you gotta pay that $85 to get in there to actually shop. And so you've monetized it to a point where the people who keep you alive when all of this goes away, because everything goes in a cycle, these celebrities will move on. You're pricing those people out. And I had several folks who said, this is my last PLE for a while. And so I think the product has to, and the business has to think about that. And I say this every time. He may be a terrible human being. He may have done some horrible things. But one thing Vince McMahon always thought about when it came to meet and greets and experience was the fans. Some of this stuff, I'm sorry. And, you know, I just started watching again during the pandemic, but some of this stuff feels like, quite frankly, a money grab. You had a 2 night bill that felt like a highly shellacked episode of Raw. Um, the only people that I'm not going to say showed up to work because that's disrespectful, but the only people that gave me WrestleMania quality stuff was the two triple threats, and those were the things that we were probably most critical of and coming into this, and that's what ended up delivering.
Mm.
So, it's interesting to see how this pans out. I think they will see a downslide. Of course, you have people who want to go because they love WWE and they're going to watch it and see it and things like that. But um, this is this is going to be interesting to watch,
Mhm.
to see how they bounce back from this. Um, of course, people are still going to go, right? That's not going to
Mhm.
change. But there's just two different sides of WrestleMania, and if I'm being quite frank, I don't feel like I got my money's worth. Is a trip
Mhm.
to Vegas always nice? Yeah, but also too in Vegas, one thing that affected this year was that those people in Vegas are hurting, and you can
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can see
Yeah.
it. They did not bounce back from the pandemic. Those people are struggling. They're overselling themselves. Everything
Yes.
is for sale, and so that
Everything.
takes you out of the experience. And I don't want to harp on that, but I think all of these social conditions, in addition to the Roman things, it almost feels like a bait and switch. Um,
What do you
and
mean by that?
it feels like we used you to get through when we couldn't open our doors, and I'm talking specifically to people of color.
Right.
And now we're back. We have these overseas dates. We're going to do what we want to do again because we quote unquote don't need you.
Right.
Um, and you see it in the booking. And I'm not saying, you know, everybody loves to throw this DEI word around, which is the new N word, if we're being quite frank. But the reality is, you can't you can't book things like this. Like, you finally gave Carmelo Hayes something with the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, but what is that? Let's be
Right.
real here.
Right.
What is
Right.
that?
Right. Right. Right.
Okay.
Right. Right.
Bianca is getting booed for no reason. And some
That
people
was
say, well, look,
shocking.
That
it
that
is a
was
reason.
alarming because we saw it began right before the overseas tour, but then the overseas tour was really like, wait, they're booing Bianca, and then it continually went week by week of, yo, is it really the overseas crowd that's not rocking with her? And we were talking about this in previous buckles, Mimi, where we like I watch like soccer, right? So there, I know that there is a long-standing history with like sometimes them crowds can be really racist to like black performers and black soccer players and stuff like that. So it's like, all right, is this just isolated to the overseas crowd? And then when they came back to the States, it's like, no, she's still getting booed and it's now getting louder. So heading into Mania, it was, is it really because they really want Rhea to win or they're just not fucking with Bianca? And then to see that really carry over to Mania, where Mania is the international crowd, people travel and shit like that, and Bianca's really getting booed. Like it's like Eo's getting cheered, Mommy's getting cheered loudly, and people were really like,
It was a bait and switch, like you said, because EO normally doesn't get that big of a response, and she got a very strong response.
"Oh, definitely."
I
You
was
can you
I
can hear
was
it off the
like,
TV. I
wow,
was like,
yeah,
"Yo, they love Io," but then it was like they are not fucking with Bianca,
yeah, yeah.
and I'm hearing more boos than cheers. It's like,
What happened?
And the thing with that's annoying is at the end of the day, Rhea Ripley is really the heel in that situation because
Yes,
she lost.
yes, yes.
And but if we're just talking kayfabe and story here.
Yep, yep.
Adam Pierce put Bianca in that situation by
Yes,
making her the special guest referee and things like that. And I just find it interesting that we're okay. The wrestling public is okay with a woman crossing one of her friends and them fighting, but the person who was wrong and perseveres and goes on to a threat match that she rightfully deserves to be in
right,
gets booed. And you
right.
could say, we want her to turn heel and all of that and things like that. But at what expense? And then what happens? What I love about Bianca is she leaned into the booze.
Yes,
She was
she
not affected.
did. She
She
did.
leaned into it. And what happens? They deliver the match of the weekend.
Yes, yes, yes.
And she took the pen, which I don't think she should have. But in retrospect, I'm glad she took the pen because nobody can say, "Oh, Bianca Belair doesn't do business," or they only book her, in these. She takes some pens,
Right.
you know. And so I think that it's and looked amazing doing it. She looked like a vision
Yes,
coming out for
yes,
Mania. That's one of her best gears. But
yes,
I just think that it's one of those things that are just interesting to me. And I think what we're seeing is that wrestling for a lot of us was an escape, and it's just not anymore. The real world has
hmm
entered the ring, and
mm.
and that's the part that either we
yes, it
don't want to
has.
face or
That's right.
we're not talking about.
That's right. That's right. And I realized that, and I had to admit that yesterday. I admit that yesterday when I came on the car ride home. I admit that I kind of buried this Trump thing just to get through the weekend. And mind you, I don't put any celebrity on a pedestal, but this election was just different. And I'm not going to really get into the whole politic thing of it, but this election was supposed to be different. It was supposed to be more ethical and ethical is the word that I want to use.
That's an appropriate one.
You're voting for ethics. And a lot of people that voted for him, ethics wasn't at the forefront. And so for me, seeing that in writing, um, like the quotes, because I didn't read the article yet, but the quotes, I was just like, wow. And I admittedly, to get through the weekend and get to enjoy Cody losing and all of that stuff, and just to get through it, I buried it. I buried it. And so until yesterday, and I was just like, no. And when you just said it just now, the real world has entered the ring. even with this what's that guy? The fucking American luchador? Like what?
El Grande Americano.
I was so offended watching that. And you actively went and got AI video. You actively did this. Like, huh? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just like, I don't understand it. And then, clips of these the roast, hit like I even feel a different Paul Heyman. I feel like everybody's different. Everything was super, super weird. Everybody's behavior in except for Roman. I feel like Roman didn't really change his behavior when he was on the Pat McAfee show.
Hmm.
And that could be a number of things, but I just feel like everybody is super brazen. Um,
Yeah, and it's like, is it by design or is it
yeah.
like because you guys are on an ultimate heat check because the product is super fire and you guys broke all these records in Vegas, that are you feeling yourself of like, oh, we're kind of untouchable, so we can cross the lines and blur the lines even more? Because I heard about the Heyman stuff. I haven't gone back and seen it, but I was like, oh, he's hooking off like this. But then you're
Mhm.
hearing Michael Cole dropping
Mhm.
f-bombs on McAfee show and like
The
Heyman calling out shit and stuff, and
cussing.
it's like, wait, we doing this?
And it
Yeah.
mind you, it's not anything major, right? It's like, but it's noticeable like aggressive behavior. It's aggressive behavior. Like even with Pat McAfee telling Raquel to speak English. I don't
Oh
understand
wow.
you speak
Oh
English.
Wait,
wow.
Last
when was
night.
this?
Oh
Last
wow.
night. Last night. Like it's aggressive fucking behavior. Like I'm just like these little micro macro aggressions towards everybody. It's
Well, he
weird.
told he told her to speak English.
During the segment yesterday
But Raw or McAfee show?
on the Raw. I'm wrong.
Ooh, I'm at top
Mm-hmm.
then. I told you in the group chat I got this bookmark for tonight, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
definitely gonna have to watch Rock and pay attention to this now that you
Mm-hmm.
say this. But yeah, like they weren't doing this before, so I don't know if it's like this weekend just kind of like brought it out.
Mm-hmm. And mind you, like DDM said, the triple threats really stole the show from Stand and Deliver
Oh,
to
that NXT show was fantastic. If
mm-hmm,
you guys
mm-hmm,
haven't seen it, my God, did
mm-hmm.
Shawn Michaels, you and Mimi, you have been harping on this on the buckle for like weeks. Like Shawn Michaels has been the best booker in WWE, and I think Stand and Deliver was like solidified. It's not even close.
That's right. That's
It's
right.
not even close. From start to end, that show was entertaining, but then the women's fatal four way, the main event triple threat,
Mm-hmm,
like everything delivered and everything made sense.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
even the matches I wasn't into coming into this, I was like, oh shit, you got my attention. Like I'm
Right.
not bored.
He's been with all the PLEs. He's been like totally on point. But the one thing that I will say, the highlights of the weekend were and I had to find the positives, right? It's for me, um as a black woman, as a black person, I had to find the positives. And the positives were Javon Evans, Trick Williams, and Obafemi had an amazing match.
Mm-hmm.
And they truly solidified why they earned that place on the card. Naomi and Jade have been doing absolute work on the timeline to move their story along. Just them. Naomi's done a very good job in the story piece of it, trying to bring Jade along. I thought that, while it was a good match, but um I would love to see more. Um it was two women on a WrestleMania card. I'm proud of that. The New Day got the tag titles back.
Mm-hmm.
It's a win is a win, and Bianca really led help lead the charge in this three-way. So I was just like, okay, like I have something to hold on to. You know what I mean? And those particular spaces, there are
Mm.
things to be celebrated. There are things to be celebrated.
Definitely. And you also got to give Naomi and Jade their props. I've seen people be critical on Jade online this weekend, but you also got to remember it's extremely rare to get a women's match straight up without a title. Like, it's been a long time since we've had that. And to have two black women be like, yo, you guys have been rocking, go out there and have a match. And it feels like the start of a feud, like a long standing feud, like the way, like, Priest and Drew McIntyre. Like,
Mhm.
this felt like the blow off to their feud, but how they have been building and building, like with Naomi and Jade, this feels like this is the start of something that can lead to like what
Right.
Damian and Drew just gave us, because that was another fantastic match.
But that's
But
two separate things that you're saying though, right?
it
You're
is. I
saying
want to I want to give Naomi and Jade their flowers on top
right.
of what you did.
Okay.
Because now I'm thinking of the positives. Because what I saw online, and I streamed night one with True Hill Heat Crew. I didn't stream night two because of everything that happened.
Mhm.
Um, I thought night one was solid, but for some reason, the temperature on the timeline, people thought it was off. Like
It
night
was
one was just completely off,
well, DDM was in the building.
and maybe DDM can speak to this, that you were in the building, because like from what I was seeing, I was like, yo, this is actually like a solid night one up until the main event. But if everyone's like, this ain't hitting, like this feels mid, that feels
I
mid.
think it was I it could have been the crowd, but I like I said DDM could touch on that. I think it was the crowd.
Yeah, because what I was getting was everything's mid going into that main event. And that main event, my God,
Yeah.
like Roman, Punk, Seth had us on a roller coaster of emotions. I
Mhm.
didn't know who the hell was winning. So many callbacks, so many this and that. We knew Heyman was going to play a factor, but they waited and were teasing that.
I,
GDM.
I think overall, I think what you got to remember is this, and I hate to keep bringing it back to this, but this is the reality. Let's
Hmm.
think about the price of them WrestleMania tickets. Let's think
Oh,
about the
yeah.
people. Let's think about the fans who truly invest in this product if they can actually afford the price of those WrestleMania tickets.
Mhm.
So now, who you think you got sitting in that stadium now?
That's right.
Certain demographics.
So
That's
you got that has to come into effect. You need the audience is a part of the cast. If you're
right.
casting the wrong people, you're going to get a certain kind of result.
Right.
Now, what you don't know is that overseas they have laws against things like Ticketmaster and stuff like that. So how they paying we paying $200 on top of a $500 ticket to get in? That's not what's happening over Europe because they had their governments have laws and caps in place where you can't do that. So they're
Damn, Elon came to get you for speaking the truth. Oh. All right. Was that DDM's mic that just wild out, or is that just the space? Like, hold on a sec.
Whoa. What the fuck? Yo,
I don't
who's
know what just
listening?
happened, but like DDM was
Yo.
cooking, and then it's almost like Triple H hit the button himself. Like, nope, nope, nope.
Who?
Shut up and listen.
Yo, that shit was
No,
not cool. He was basically, yo, that shit is
he
scary.
was cooking, and then
That
my
was scary. Put him back up. Put him back up.
oh my god, Elon, get this together, dude.
Wow.
All right, take two.
hello,
Action.
hello, can
Yes.
you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear
Okay.
us?
I guess yeah, I can hear y'all. I guess I was speaking too much. I was the math was mathing too much.
Right,
It
right,
was.
right.
The truth was
But
truthing.
but you see, but I hope you got most of what I'm saying, what I was
Yes,
saying. But you
we
see
did.
how that plays a difference, and everything plays a part into what you see. So
Mm-hmm.
now you have a bunch of celebrities
Mm-hmm.
who can afford to pay. Let's think about this. WrestleMania 9, we watched the documentary on Peacock. The highest ticket for front row was $250. They said out their mouth that
Wow.
Vince McMahon always made it a point to make sure that every pay-per-view they did while he owned that company, they had the equivalent of what was a $25 ticket. Are you seeing any tickets for the equivalent adjust? Even if you did four times that, that would still mean that the nosebleed should be about $100 to $150, and that's not what we're seeing here.
Nah, I was seeing initially like Super Bowl prices just to get in the building, and then at the very last minute, the ticket prices dropped to where like 350, 400 was a decent ticket to get you in the building
Hmm.
for either night, but that was like last minute. So
Very
that was
last minute. And then if you
you had to
bought
already have everything planned and you were coming to Vegas in order to take advantage of that.
And
Exactly.
if you actually bought a ticket, like let's say if you bought like a VIP ticket or whatever, and or a regular ticket, and let's just say something went wrong and you went and complained, they had seats in those expensive categories that were empty, that was so close to the stage, you can't show like an empty seat, right? They were upgrading people, like freely giving somebody that $1,600 seat, they were upgrading them. If anybody, if you knew what the formula was, you would probably be in front row.
Yeah, because what was it? If you were in dead ringside, like those next tier front rows were like what, 5 grand each night?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
One person, I know somebody that bought tickets, and his tickets were like, he bought them for I think $10,000 each, and then he couldn't go and couldn't sell them. Couldn't sell them, to the point where he had to go to the show late. He missed night one and went to night two because he couldn't take the full L.
yeah, and that's something that they're gonna have to look into because I think DDM hit the nail on the head where
They're not going to look into it. They're going to try to squeeze. They're going to
they're
try.
gonna try to squeeze everything, but it's also you're starting to price people out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Here's the thing. Those little kids who like to go to stuff like that, they can't
Hmm.
afford that. And
No.
then this economy, like I'm gonna be honest with you, this my last one for a while.
Hmm.
This my last one for a while, and it's just because I don't feel like I'm getting what I'm paying for.
Right.
You know,
And
everything.
and people like you, DDM, like DDM buys the merch throughout the year. He doesn't just go to the superstore and racks up once a year. Throughout the year, he buys, like he literally supports. So when he says like I'm not doing that, I'm not getting my money's worth, he's already spending money during the year.
And then what he highlighted earlier, which I want to bring back and touch on too, was the fan experience because DDM was talking about the meet and greets, and I remember, and you remember this, Mimi, for like 34 and 35, where like the most you would spend on like a meet and greet going to Access was like 125, 150 to see like
Yeah.
a Rhea
Yeah.
Ripley or Roman Reigns.
That's
And
right.
even if you spent the 150 to go see them, you can also see like the NXT talent for free or some of the
Yep.
Hall of
Yep.
Famers for free. I
Hmm.
got to see the Revival and Godfather, and
They were having free exhibition
you got to
matches.
watch NXT for free if you went to Access. And
Hmm.
now, post pandemic, everything, all that's monetized. We're like, if
Yep.
you want meet and greet, not only you paying to go to the meet and greets, but now Bianca would probably be like $500
Or an entry
in
fee.
some places. If you want to watch NXT, you gotta go pay to go see this. And like that whole uptick of money, 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 and we're not even getting to the shows.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
It's too
Um,
much.
yeah, it is. It is. Let's get into some of the matches at the very least. What did y'all think? I really want to hear DDM's take on the Tiffy Time match and Charlotte Flair, because that whole feud created such chaos online.
mm-hmm,
And I've already said what I needed to say. I've said this, we talked about the whole Charlotte thing last week,
mm-hmm.
and the week before that. Um Charlotte, I watched that match over again. Charlotte really led that match. And I'm not being biased. I felt like she led the match. Um I DDM and a couple of people said it when we were talking about afterwards. They felt like they really had some heat towards each other. Um, I didn't look at the match that way, but Charlotte was a professional. She truly
Hmm.
was in that match.
Okay.
DDM.
Um, I think that the match was Charlotte did what she was supposed to do. She did her job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that that's all you can ask a performer to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that she definitely was a little stiff at times with Tiffany
Mm-hmm.
on purpose because Tiffany had that receipt coming for running her mouth about that late marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I mean, and she left her a nice little memory in her mouth for it too. But
Right. Right.
the reality is this. Um, People are going to always feel a certain kind of way about Charlotte Flair,
Yep.
and it's no way that she or anybody else is going to be able to change that.
That's
They
right.
could book her to lose all year, get you though. They could book her to lose every match for the next 6 months, and people will still say she's overbooked.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I really just want Char to lean into that and
Mm-hmm.
embrace it
Mm-hmm.
because she's a nice person outside of the character, and people keep saying her booking, just like we was in that chicken and waffle spot, and I had to read because I think the fans sometimes take things a little bit too far,
Yes.
and I think that you got to ask yourself, you're not cheering because you just absolutely love Tiffany, you're cheering because you just don't like Charlotte.
Right.
So I'm actually, this is going to sound crazy coming from me, but I'm actually glad that Charlotte lost.
Me too.
I'm glad that Charlotte lost because now Tiffany has to prove it.
That's right.
Because now you can't use the excuse of Charlotte Flair kills talent. Now there may have been some times where she was booked questionably. I still think that Oscar should have went over at the Mania that she won.
She should have.
How bad is it that the first female Royal Rumble winner loses at Mania? That's not smart,
Right.
you know. But I think that the match overall, I think Tiffany is a good talent. I personally, my personal opinion, I think both of these ladies had my favorite entrances of the night. But hey, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that you have to think about all of that when it comes to it. I will say that the wrestling fan base, um, wrestling is a place where you can be somebody who ain't shit in real life and talk shit about somebody who's everything that you would like to be.
That's right.
And I think that, some of these comments that I've heard from men, both in the stands at the event and online, is very annoying. Um, because, they're talking about her body fitting in her trunks. They're talking about her face work and all of that. But here's the reality. Charlotte Flair wakes up the room every time she wrestles, and it
Mm-hmm.
happened that night too. I
Yep.
literally in person watched the arena wake up. And so it's very crazy to me to see a woman be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And people still, but her
Mm-hmm.
father, Rick ain't been relevant for how long? Rick is iconic, but let's cut the shit. Rick can't wrestle the match for her.
Right.
There's an argument that can be made, hey, we don't like the booking, and that's fine. But I don't see anybody saying anything about Becky Lynch coming
Huh.
back and immediately
Huh.
getting the belt every
Oh,
time.
Huh.
table
Huh.
that. We're gonna talk about that. We'll we'll
Huh.
You
we'll,
know,
we'll spend the block on that.
Huh.
but I'm, but let's say, and for people that hate Bianca Belair so much now, but how quick we forget that that lady lost in 26 seconds at
26
SummerSlam.
seconds.
So who? And I was there in the building for that, and I was pissed. I almost got into a fight in the crowd for that. But I'm not gonna ramble too much. But I just think that Charlotte is a great um star. I think she's great for the business. And also, too, another thing that people don't like to talk about, Charlotte was on time for every one of her meet and greets.
That's right. Oh, was she?
She was on time. And guess what? With the meet and greets, you have it where, you either buy the picture or you buy the autograph. When
Mhm.
them people got them live with them autographs, she turned her sign to the side and she said, "Take the selfie."
Oh, see?
But that's
You
the part that people
see?
leave out.
You
People leave that out.
see? My queen. I love my queen. You don't understand. I've loved Charlotte Flair. Like I've never met the woman, but you know how like you just sense like you said at the table. You said Charlotte Flair is like that girl. She's like that girl that you would, she's white, but you could take her to the club and she will get like stupid and get into the shenanigans with you and still be like okay,
But it won't be pandering.
but it
And
won't
that's
be
the difference.
pandering and it's
It-
natural.
you know? And so that's the thing. Even I was at WWE World and I saw her I was watching her. She was doing a live interview for a podcast there. And just watching how she interacts and things like that. And I just, it is what it is.
Yep. 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 Um.
All right, so what I'll add to your Charlotte diatribes over here, I'll add this. So I thought the match was solid. I thought
Mhm.
they both looked incredible. I don't know if them almost wearing matching gear was supposed to be like if that was coincidence or that was supposed to be like planned. But I was interested to see how this flowed. This is Tiffany being her first Mania, and this is Charlotte coming off of a serious knee injury. So I was interested to see how this will flow in the ring, especially the way where this has kind of been a haphazard build. And DDM kind of said it like Charlotte took the lead. Obviously, she's the vet. She's been here. She knows what she's doing.
Mhm.
I didn't see a lot of ring rust with Charlotte because this is the first time you're really seeing her wrestle and get put through the gears since that injury.
Mhm.
So I thought she looked about 85% her, which is really good,
Mhm.
especially coming off of that injury. That's still really good. Anytime she does a moonsault here on out, I'm just gonna be like, I'm just praying, just praying, just praying. All right, she's good.
Right.
All right, she's good. They work stiff, which I thought played into the feud, and also they were talking some shit.
Yep.
So there could have been a little earn this receipt. Well, you earn this receipt.
Mhm.
So I thought it was physical. It felt like the beginning of something down the road. Tiffany retaining took me by surprise, but also she needed this win a lot more than Charlotte did. It's going to
I
be interesting to
agree.
see where Tiffany goes from here, though, and can she build on this? Because it's very rare that Charlotte's loss at Mania, is rare that she gets pinned. You're talking about Bailey, Rhea, and now Tiffany. So can you capitalize on that? And then DDM said it perfect, man. Charlotte's basically like John Cena now, where you love her or hate her, people are going to react to her in the arena. If she's wrestling, people are paying attention to that match. It is what it is. Hold a sec. Oh, we got the hotline lineup. Anything else we need to talk about on night one? Should we get into the main event real quick, or should we get into night two?
Yeah. Let's get into the main event real quick. It was fucking amazing. I I was surprised. I have to say I was surprised. CM Punk did his thing as much as he could.
I
It
mean, the
was
man has been crying for a main event. It's
I
like,
know
here you go. Can
you
you?
better
Here you
you
go.
better
You
come
got two
together.
of the best workers in the
Right.
company. Can you hang?
Right. He could hang it because it was a mix because we can all agree that Roman and Seth definitely wrestled two different styles and he kept up.
Yep.
I did feel like, which I absolutely love. I'm so into the drama and the story. I felt like the match was heavy with story, which um that's a good thing for me. But I am totally invested, and I poo-pooed on this match. I didn't want to see it, but it really did feel like CM Punk was a caveat. He wasn't a part of this story, and now that we're seeing it play out a little bit more, he still doesn't feel like he's a part of the story. So it's just interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this moves along with him as a part of it. I think them having him team up with Roman is going to be still weird. I think in Survivor Series, I thought it was weird. Um, but I think CM Punk's role is to teach. I think his role is to guide. He does that very, very well. Um, but if they take him out the story, like I wouldn't. I wouldn't lose any sleep because it just sincerely feels like he's an asterisk.
I hear you. I
Hmm.
know Corey's gonna be very happy you're saying positive things about CM Punk because you've been trying to get that man annexed from this main event for weeks. So I know Corey's on the flight right now. Like, yeah, see, I've been telling you,
I told
Mimi.
you.
I
I
told you it was gonna deliver. I told you.
told y'all niggas. So what do you think, Jess?
Only thing I could add to that, the Heyman turn, we saw it coming. It still delivers. Him pairing up with Seth and Seth now getting over on Roman multiple times at Mania, man. Like it's like Roman just gotta watch his back at all times. It's like
Hmm.
if Seth's around, it's just like, damn, man, this guy just always likes to fuck you over in the worst possible ways at Mania. It's like the heist of the century. Now, I don't even know what you would quote this one, but like, damn, dude,
This is a hype.
is it a heist? Is it a the turn of the century? Like, I don't know. It's gonna have a label to it, but man, did
I,
this
I
did it deliver? Go ahead, DDM.
no, I mean it definitely delivered
Hmm.
in story and everything. It was a worthy WrestleMania main event.
Yes.
Um, I think had this been night two, we would have had a different look at this overall WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But
Facts.
I will say this. I was CM Punk used to get on my nerves when I came back to wrestling and I saw him and stuff. I was like, oh my God, here's Phil whining again. But um, I will say this: as time has moved on, I am becoming fond of Phil, and his ugly ass dog. But
I ain't the only one. I told
Oh,
y'all.
you know,
oh
I
Lord.
am, and I'm a pet person, but
Right.
boy,
I love dogs, but
absolutely not. But no, I'm becoming fond of CM Punk a lot. Um, and and I think part of it is because I like his ideology and the fact that he speaks up outside of kayfabe and outside of work. Because just to touch just really quickly on the Roman and Triple H stuff that we talked about at the top of the show, CM Punk did counter programming to that to say, hey, this isn't okay. And so I'm not gonna lie, I was going into this triple threat rooting for Seth and CM Punk.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm becoming fond of CM Punk. I thought the match did what it was supposed to do. Um, we knew the Paul Heyman turn was coming, and I wasn't even thinking about it at first until Fam had said something on BRP a couple of weeks back. But I like this. I'm not mad at it. I thought
Mhm.
that was I paid for night one, so I feel like I got my money's worth. Even though I left 10 minutes before the match ended because I'm not going to be in that zombie walk trying to get an Uber outside the stadium.
Mhm.
So when they was doing the turn and ringing the bell, I was in the Uber on the way back to the hotel.
Okay, I can't get mad at that.
No, you can't because I yesterday. Well, was it yesterday? The day before. Um, we left like 5 minutes right before the match ended. I wanted to, because I had to run to the airport, but it was a thing, like trying to get an Uber. Like that whole system is that stadium trying to get an Uber thing. Like somebody needs to come up with a better system because it's just terrible, terrible,
Yeah.
terrible,
And
terrible.
unfortunately, I know the flip side of that coin because WrestleMania 35 is forever cemented in my
Oh yes,
brain.
I heard about that.
Stranded outside, waiting on New Jersey Transit to turn back
Yep.
on and send trains. And now here comes an emergency medical situation. So we're stranded for an extra half hour in the rain, and we're
Mm,
not getting back to Midtown until almost 3 in the morning.
that's crazy.
And yeah, that was like, that
That
was
was
my
nuts.
forever. This needs to be 2 nights. F this. This was at least 8 hours of wrestling, not including tailgating and pre-show and all that stuff. Like, no.
Oh
But
wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
all right, so that's night
Um.
one.
Mhm.
Let's pivot to night two because we touched on this women's triple threat, which was fan fucking.
Yeah.
Nini, did I not tell you this match was gonna deliver?
You did. You
I just
did.
was like, this is
You
one of
did.
3 matches, and this is gonna over deliver because Io gonna remind people she is a bad bitch in the ring,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
And she was.
all three of them showed out. And salute to the finish because it was giving. I forget who clipped this on socials. Smart, good on you. This was giving Jeff Hardy win the title in '08 in that triple threat against Triple H and Edge, and like the exact same finish. I was like, that's immediately what I thought of too. And they did that so perfect. Of like Bianca got pinned, but it didn't really hurt her of the way of that finish and how it came about. And also, Bianca was undefeated going into this, but she lost in the triple threat. She's still undefeated in singles matches. She gonna be fine. Io needed this, and Io needed to pin Bianca to solidify that title belt because she's been pinning Rhea this entire time.
Yeah. Um it was fantastic from the entrance to, and I love Bianca with her entrances. She always finds to put something, like leave her black legacy in anything that she does that's big. And I thought the double dutches were super cute. I thought it was a beautiful touch to have her stepdaughter, which I didn't realize it was her stepdaughter until DDM said it the next day. I thought it was just beautiful.
Hmm.
Absolutely beautiful. Her gear, just the details. And now we realize why when DDM asked her, I think he asked her if her gear was ready, and she said it's been ready for a few weeks now or whatever.
She
Like,
said it was
yes,
ready last week. Because I was like,
yes.
sis, what is this look giving? She's like, it's ready. It was ready last week. I was like, all right, girl. But
Yes.
had a look together. She been getting her house sewing machine been stepping up too. Because
Yes.
these last few
Yes.
looks, we done came a long way from that Joanne fabric.
Right.
She's starting to
Oh, not
Listen.
Joy of Fabric. Why we
she's
gotta get
Listen.
starting
headshots?
Listen. For the Hobby
she
Lobby.
yeah, you can tell she done stepped a little coinage up because
Yes,
the
right.
fabric selections and things been giving what it need to give.
Right.
Um, but I thought this match was absolutely outstanding. And
Mhm.
to me, it is the
Mhm.
match of the weekend. As far as a
Yes.
pure wrestling match, this
Yes.
is the match of the weekend.
Yep.
And I think all three ladies. Another thing too that contributes to a good match, and I'm sure all of you listening know this, but one thing that contributes to a great match is when people actually like each other. And you can tell
Yes.
that all three of these ladies
Love
really
each
like
other.
each other,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and they worked safe. You could tell that there was a comfort there.
That's right.
These are
They
all
trusted each
three,
other. Yep.
right? These are all three ladies who were in an NXT together. So they
Mhm.
have that history. They train together. They know each other. Even seeing backstage footage and Bianca came up and hugged Rhea and they went
Mhm.
off laughing and stuff like that.
Mhm.
These ladies are really friends.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
when you have a chemistry like that in real life, it's going to translate in the ring. And I feel like every lady shined equally as well. I
Mhm.
think that everybody got their shit off. I don't think that anybody was slighted in the match.
Mhm.
I think the right person won in the match.
Yep.
Seeing Io's parents cry, that was great. And now looking at the match, I understand what they were doing. They
Mhm.
put this triple threat together as a showcase for Io to the WWE universe at large, and also too, kind of like to pay her back for WrestleMania last year because I felt so bad for her
Mhm.
last year because her and Bailey had an awesome match, but the rain was booked so weak that by the time we got to the match, it was too late. So
Yeah.
she gave you a great match, and the crowd was here for the match, but the rain was built so weakly, you know. And
Yeah.
and not to veer too much off topic, but it's still within the realm. But that's the same thing that happened to Gunther this time.
Right.
Gunther was booked how Gunther should have been booked his whole reign
Yep.
2 weeks before WrestleMania. Who
Yep.
does that?
Right.
Yep.
Okay, who
Who
does
does
that?
that? Who does that? Triple H.
You
Because that's
know,
what exactly what he did.
Mhm.
you,
Yep.
he looks like the Gunther that I remember 2 weeks before WrestleMania.
That's
At
right.
this point, it's too late.
Right.
It's
Right.
too late.
Right.
It's too late. You got to go with the story. I'm very happy for Jay Uso. Um,
Yes.
the
What a
clock.
feel good moment.
We didn't really talk about him too much, but I think that the clock for him starts now
Yep.
because you got the belt now,
Yep.
and bruh, you are a great wrestler. You're a great tag team wrestler,
But
but
that's not what makes, that's not the star.
yeah,
You got to be 360 degrees.
yeah, and so. It's like one of those things that I felt so bad for Gunther leaving because they gave him that title belt and did absolutely nothing with it. You had that man in there wrestling Akira Tozawa. You
Yep.
had him in there wrestling Alpha Academy. Like,
Yep.
what kind of foolishness is that? You
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
Um, so I felt bad for him, but just to go back to what we were talking about, I think that this was great for EO. Um, I think that it was a necessary moment for Japanese women and
Mhm.
Japanese wrestlers. I didn't
Mhm.
realize
Mhm.
the stats because as a black person, of course, I'm going to champion black people.
Right.
But first, but that's what every race does, right? Let's keep it a buck. But it was kind of disheartening to hear how badly booked Japanese wrestlers are in WWE. I mean, we see it, but when you hear the numbers and to find out that she's the first Asian Japanese wrestler, period.
She's the first one because Asuka's still 0 for her. Shinsuke's still 0 for her. And then you go down the list. Yeah, it took Io to finally break the schneid.
You know, that's crazy. But also, too, shout out to all of those Japanese wrestlers because you never hear them complaining. They always
That's
do
right.
business.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
All right, so we
Okay.
got that. We
Mhm.
touched on Drew and Damien. That was a fantastic street fight. I,
Mhm.
I thought
Mhm.
that was better than expected, and the finish was
Fucking Drew with the
salute to
fucking
them.
camera.
All right, that's his new mania streak. Is this fucking selfie mid, and he did this mid match, and like the match wasn't even over. That shit had like 10 million imprints by the time
Right.
that match was
Right.
over. It's
Right.
like, bro? You're still working. Get off the
I
fucking
love it.
phone.
I love it. I
I feel like a
love it because
supervisor. Get off the phone and
you
work.
remember you remember those Turnbuckle Talk nights where I would talk shit about that man. I wanted that man off
Oh,
my
you
screen.
were
I
relentless on Drew.
I
Oh my
whenever we
god.
talked about Drew, I was happy to drag him.
Really?
Okay. What?
It's
I was
really
bad.
how you feel about Cody.
How I
Drew
felt
got
about
it
Cody
times
is how I felt
10.
about him. Yeah. No,
Really?
no,
Drew
no,
I'm
no,
got it
no. No,
worse.
honest.
that's not true. That's not true. Cody gets it worse.
Now Cody gets it worse, but Drew was getting it. Drew was more sustainable.
And I love Drew McIntyre.
Mhm.
Drew
You,
Yeah,
McIntyre
you
is.
definitely.
Mimi went on a journey with Drew.
Okay.
I
Okay.
did. I did. I went on a journey. But listen, he won me over. And apparently, Danielle from Pretty Heels made me realize the reason why I like Drew now is because Drew worked with CM Punk. And ever since Drew worked with CM Punk, his whole mentality has changed. She said, you have to look at the talent that has worked with CM Punk and notice the difference of who they were before and who they are after they've worked with him. And I was
Hmm.
like, okay, all right. I mean, okay, Phil.
I'm gonna
I'm
need
gonna
her to
give you
follow up on that. She's onto
that.
something.
I'm
We
gonna
need some
give you
statistics or
yeah.
something.
I think also
Listen.
too, like with that, like we have to think about one thing that plays a factor is cultural differences. And I find with a lot of the European wrestlers,
Hmm.
um, they have their take on things is just different than us. When you
Hmm.
look at Gunther, when you look at Drew, when you look at all of these, William Regal even, um, they Americans allow brash and ostentatious. The
Definitely.
European sensibility is not that. So when you enter into a world like that, like they're about the wrestling first. So for them, the wrestling got to be given what it needs to be.
Right. Right.
The character is second for them. So it's a learning curve with them when it comes to America. And I'll use for example, look at Piper Niven since she's worked with Chelsea Green. Now
Mm.
Chelsea Green is an American, but she gets it, right? And so Piper now has developed a little bit of a personality. She feels a little different. And I think that that's the thing, but unfortunately in WWE in a place like this, that learning curve, you don't get a lot of time, right? And I think that's also something that the Japanese wrestlers have struggled with, A, because of the language barrier, but also too, when you look at Joshi style wrestling, when you look at Japanese wrestling and things like that, they're the wrestling first. Everything else is kind of like
Yeah.
an extra.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that learning curve has to kind of work itself
Speed
out,
up. Yeah.
and I
Quicker.
think that's why with Drew now he feels a little different, and a lot better because
Hmm.
he's had that season.
Yeah. 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 I totally agree.
Couldn't
What's
have
the next
said it
match?
better. Oh, next match we definitely, because when we talk about night two was on a path of greatness, that four-way IC title
Oh my
match,
god. Oh my
my
god.
fucking like Lovely was putting this on the timeline for a while of like Dominic Mysterio's not the biggest heel in the company because people really want to cheer him. It took Mania for that to really hit home, be like, yo, these people really want this
Mm-hmm.
kid to win.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they're gonna be pissed if this is anyone else. Like, God forbid Finn Balor or nope, Dom, or we burn this damn stadium down.
Let me tell you, you could see it in Finn's face that he wanted that boy to win. Like Dominic Mysterio is another one that like I felt like I remember Issa used to say, "What do you're such a mother." She used to tell me. And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "He's not good, Mimi. Trust me, he's not good." But I did look at him like a kid because when he came in, remember when he came in, he was all clean cut, short hair, crew cut hair,
Yeah, he
and
looked
he
like a
was just
kid.
like
I remember
super, and he
the
looked like a
WrestleMania
kid.
38 where he's tag teaming with Ray, and
Yes, and they had
it's
matching
like
gear,
it's like
you
Father Son
know?
Day at work, and
Yes,
like,
yes. And I was working at the company when he got his first figure, right? And then
mhm.
so when they get their figures, we usually put them all on a call and then we present them their figures like on the screen. And he was so humble and he was so cute. You know, he just couldn't believe it, right?
Yep.
And then I started during the pandemic. That's when after the pandemic left, that's when they started getting more live crowds. That's when I started seeing, oh wait, he should have went to NXT. So from then to now, Dominic Mysterio is a completely different person, and I've noticed that the past couple of months. I really wanted him to win. The crowd really wanted to, they want to boo him, but they wanted him to win. That crowd went up when he won.
Oh, that was probably
They
pop of the
went
night.
completely up. My section, everybody, like, I almost fell over. That's how excited I was for him.
I think some of it's because we've been on the journey with him of like when he first came in, when he's wrestling with his dad, he
Mm-hmm.
looks like a kid. Like Issa would say, he's not good, but then we've seen the development, and
Mm-hmm.
did we put that boy through the fire because we were
That we
booing
did.
him relentlessly with like go away heat. And yeah, it looked like he had a bounce in NXT, but he took the lumps, he put in the work, he leaned into the hate like
Yep.
10 toes down and then took another 10 toes and went down even further down, and he just got better and better and better. That's like, yo, he's clicking in the ring. Yo, he's finally kind of got this character, this
But I
chicken
think,
tendies shit, and like
right,
it's
right,
it's all
right,
coming together.
right.
And this last couple of months was like they're booing him out of respect, but now it's like there's a lot of love behind it.
And I think a lot
Yeah,
of it has to do with people that you work with. Like you can work with a Finn Balor, but if Finn Balor is not willing to really work with you, not just being a part of your team, he's really working with you. Like that's a thing. You know what I mean? Like you can't just be in a team and expect to get better if your team is not willing to help you. And I think they were dedicated to helping him. From
yeah,
Damien to Rhea to I think they were so the Judgment Day, I noticed, regardless of what their story was, they were really friends. And you can see it.
yeah. And I think also too, I wasn't even thinking about Dominic Mysterio in this match at first, to be honest, because I'm on a Penta train right now.
Yes, yes,
That little
yes.
strut he do, and here's the
V
thing,
V
here's the
don't V don't
Yes.
V don't corrupted me with that fucking smooth operator
I
because
love it.
that's
I
all I
love
think of
it.
with Penta.
here's the thing, right? When he was in AEW doing his thing, it was cute and everything, but I think splitting them up and having them come in separately really allowed you to see personalities for me.
Yes. Yes.
And when he do that little strut out to the ring, I think it's sexy personally.
Yes.
Like I'm a Penta fan, bitch. Give me the mask. Where are
Right.
the masks? I want the shirt. I want the mask. I want
All
the
of it.
black mask. I
All
want the
of it.
blue mask. I want everything. And his fabric selection be on. Penta, I don't
Yep.
know where he haven't Bianca must have started going to Penta store because I
Right.
don't like all of the fabrics.
Oh, they're shopping in the
His
same aisle.
his fabric selection be on. But outside of that though, all jokes aside, um Dominic Mysterio is the equivalent for WWE. He's WWE's version of a Disney star. And
Yes.
when I say that,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
meaning
Yes.
that
Yes.
you saw him as a child, you see him go through this kitty phase, and then he went through his Justin Timberlake breaking up from Instinct
Yes.
moment, and he got a new
Yes.
hair, he got a new cut, new color,
Right.
a little bit of edge, the fur boots, and he's really blossomed into his own man. So
Yeah.
like when I look at Dominic Mysterio now, yes, we know he's Rey Mysterio Jr.'s son, but I'm not looking at him as that. Like I love the cut. I think it's so chic, it's so like fashion in a
Yes.
tacky wrestling way, but it totally works. And
Mm-hmm.
he's really I see a grown ass man. And
Yes.
I see somebody who could potentially be around in the company for quite some time. And he to me, he's gonna have the type of career I think that like somebody like a Jeff Hardy had in WWE outside of devices and things like that. But
Yeah.
um where he's really going to become somebody that people lean on in the future. Not saying right now, but I
Right.
could see in the future him being a person that they team younger talent with or talent comes to get advice from.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
he really, to Justin's point, getting that go away heat to a certain degree for that period of time and pushing through it and having to go through these lumps. Oh, you're your father's son, and you got the tag team belts already, and
Yep.
this, that, and the third. And I just think it's phenomenal. The match was great. Braun Breaker's gonna be just fine. Um, and
Clearly.
yeah, right, right. You know,
Clearly. Because I
can
was
Carmelo get a U.S. Championship title run,
listen.
something? But
Listen.
no,
I
Braun
was
Breaker's gonna be just fine. I think Finn Balor is transitioning into the Unk era of his career.
right.
I think he's Unk now.
Right.
Um, he with a six pack though, because one thing about him, the six pack's gonna be the guy.
I'm about to say, yeah,
Yeah.
there's dad bods and there's Finn bod, which is just like,
Right.
do you eat carbs? Do you eat pizza? Like this is so unfair. This
Right.
is unfair.
It's gonna be together. One thing
Yep.
Finn gonna give you that six pack is going to be on.
Right.
Um, but no, I
Yep.
think that overall um that match was great. What was the next match after that?
So the
Yeah.
next match after that, I don't know if you guys really want to touch on it, which is AJ Styles Logan Paul.
No.
Oh, okay.
I
All right.
don't.
This
One
is
thing. I'm a gearhead. Logan Paul gear is always together. That
Yeah.
color scheme, that color scheme ain't. That color
Yeah.
scheme ain't. Horrible human being, but the color scheme is going to be on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That the gear ain't. That's all I got to say about that.
horrible person, but he just gets the wrestling. He gets character.
Yeah.
He knows how to fuck with the fans. He
Yeah.
puts in
Because
the
he's
work in
playing
the ring.
himself. He's playing himself.
It works, dude. The
Yep.
kid just gets it, and love him or hate him. But now, next thing we got to talk about, which after this, the Randy Orton Invitational. Randy said, "Yo, come to the ring, eat this RKO. Who's gonna be? Let it be known. It's Joe Hendry. Say his name. He appears. And man, did the timeline. This decision had the timeline all over the fucking place. If
What was
you
you saying? Because I honestly, I was mad.
So people were mad that it
I
was
was mad.
Joe Hendry and not someone else on the roster. And
Okay.
then people were even more pissed because it was a short match
Okay.
and Joe Hendry, he gets his stuff in, Easter RKO, and it was what, like 5, 7 minutes tops. So then it became you get Joe Hendry, you just buried the TNA champion, and da da da.
Okay.
So it's been a lot of discourse of you could have picked someone from the main roster instead of going out of the company,
Mm-hmm.
and then you buried the TNA champion like less than like 5 minutes. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where my only response to this was, what the fuck were y'all expecting? This was an audible match from the beginning because KO can't wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever was going in that ring was losing. So you don't want someone off the current roster where it could really hurt them. And this was a match that was not going to go long because you got to look at who's in that main event. And them Cody matches are not short, especially when you throw in the entrances. So it was going to be like a sprint.
Yeah.
Joe Hendry got a massive pop because I didn't even
Yes,
have
he
the
did.
volume
He
full
did.
voice, and you could hear like off the phone, like, "Oh shit, it's
Yeah.
loud!" Everyone's singing, "I believe," and
Mm-hmm.
you can
Mm-hmm.
tell Randy had fun because Randy
Yeah.
was getting into it. Joe Henry did his little thing and then ate the RKO, and then Randy mocked his little pose.
Right.
So you could tell Randy was out there having fun. It was like, yo,
Uh-huh.
Even though the
Randy's having
camera,
fun. And then he
even though
gives,
the camera people telegraphed it in, but whatever. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
hey, but they got this, they nailed the shot instead of missing it.
No,
Wow.
I'm
And
over this camera crew. But
Right.
do you miss Kevin Dunn in the 15,000 cuts in
Oh
30
no.
seconds?
you know what? At least I didn't see mop buckets on
Right.
screen. I
Right.
didn't see audio and crew people coming out during John Cena's entrance. Okay, in a tight shot.
It's sloppy.
It's sloppy.
Yeah.
I'm seeing botches galore. It's sloppy. But back to what you were saying about Joe Hendry.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Um,
because again, divisive, but Joe Hendry got his WrestleMania moment. Is that not what WrestleMania is for? It's WrestleMania moments.
right, and me
Listen,
personally, I don't think he got buried. I know people saying that.
me
I
neither.
mean, it's Joe Hendry. He's in TNA. Where in the hell
This
did
is
this
a
happen?
win.
Right,
Right.
that you get to go on WrestleMania and not only be on WrestleMania, but people actually know who you are from
Right.
an indie promotion.
Right.
Come out. I mean, it's Randy. Or it's not like you
And
got
came
that
out
giant.
with the title.
Right. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like, it's not like you got beat by, Elias or somebody like that.
Right.
No shade to him. But you took an RKO from Randy Orton. I mean, that's kind of like a badge of honor if we're being
Right.
honest. So I
Right.
don't I don't see it as a
And that's
burial.
what he said. That's what he said
Yeah,
on Busted Open.
I don't see it as a burial. I don't see it I see it as a very great opportunity. And that man's booking for indie shows probably just went through the roof
Right.
um off of that. So I think that people have to kind of look at these things sometimes in perspective, and I just don't think that it was a burial. I think it was a nice moment. And one thing's for sure, two things for certain. Randall, to be the
Mm.
age that he is,
Mm.
looks phenomenal, and I think Joe
Mm.
Hendry is younger than him, and I'm like, this old man is in better shape than you. No shade,
Yeah.
but
He's got to step himself up. He's got to step himself up.
that's my only thing. And I'm thinking in terms of how Vince McMahon would think. Vince
Yes.
McMahon would have never sent Joe Hendry out there looking like that.
No. No.
Mm-mm.
No. Not at
If he
all.
did, he'd have sent him out there as a comedy act. He wouldn't have been
Right.
sent out there seriously. So that's my only thing that I noticed about that. Um, but I thought it was what it was.
Yeah. What
Cool.
was after that?
Next match. It's time to spin the block because women's tag team titles.
Oh
Liv
my
and
God.
Raquel versus Lyra, aka Birdman. And And you talk about burning the timeline, my God. So this also had the timeline in the upper because people were pissed that Bailey was a last minute scratch because they waited till the day before to run the angle of Bailey got attacked backstage. She's not gonna be in the Mania match, but it didn't really circulate until that morning of like, wait, Bailey's not in this match? What the fuck happened?
Right.
And then it was like, wait, is she legit injured or did you just yank her a healthy scratch? And it was coming out like it was a healthy scratch. So it's like, if she's not in this, then we know who it is. And as soon as Becky's music hit,
I literally
so
didn't think it was Becky. I literally thought she was. I wanted to believe. Maybe that's what it was. I wanted to believe that that girl was hurt because I did not think that they were going to do this. I was mad.
oh, I was pissed. And a lot of so apparently off of what I'm seeing on the TV, like obviously everyone goes ape shit because it's Becky Lynch. So she got a massive pop. But the
Yep.
timeline, it was a different story. The timeline was, yo, you give Charlotte all this shit about stealing people's
That's right.
spotlights
That's
and
right.
not working and stealing title opportunities and title wins, but Becky, now we have the history with Becky. Now it's the 26 seconds. Now it's the I'm gonna
Mm,
bounce over to NXT and take the title off Tiffany because I've never won the NXT women's title.
mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
or I haven't won the tag team titles. Me and
Mhm.
Lita gonna do it. And now it's like this history of you give Charlotte this shit, but now
But
Becky has
Becky
this
does
history
it.
of doing
Becky
it,
does it.
and y'all are cheering it. So was it Becky's got better PR than Charlotte Flair?
Listen. Tuh.
And that's the thing. I think that's the difference, right? I think also too, people just want to always use Charlotte's father as an excuse to not like her. But um, I thought that it was kind of awkward. But here's the thing: I'm not mad at them pulling Bailey from this, and here's why. I think Bailey has been overly gracious
Yep.
and putting talent over.
Yep.
I think she has been overly gracious in taking pins. And I think if you want to preserve that character, you got to kind of make her matter. Not saying she doesn't matter because it's Bailey, but she's been taking a lot of pins lately.
Mm-hmm.
And having her, and she is one of the four horsewomen. You can't just have her constantly taking pins, constantly being somebody's cheerleader and sidekick. She needs to remain strong.
Mm-hmm.
And she's done her job. I think out of all of the horsewomen, she's put the most people over.
Yep.
So
Oh, without doubt.
she's the most selfless, but you got to
Mm-hmm.
preserve that character. So I'm glad they took her out of this. I'm glad they gave her a kayfabe injury so we can kind of reset Bailey a little bit, and she
Yep.
can come back and do more. So when and I'm thinking about it like that, so I'm not mad that she got pulled from the match with this girl.
She said it in her interview with Chris Van, what's his name? Van
Chris
what?
Van Vliet,
Yeah. He
Villet, yeah,
but
Chris,
yeah.
Chris V. There
he
you go.
Chris V. He did an interview with her, and he asked a specific question. He said, how does that make you feel to for something like that to have happened? Like, doesn't that make you mad? And she said she didn't want to, it felt like she said something to the effect of it makes her mad, but doesn't really admit that it makes her mad, and says something to the effect of like it only happens because I don't stick up for myself. I don't
Yeah, she was
get
like,
like
I'm too much of a team player, but then
yes,
I don't even put myself on the same level as Charlotte or Becky.
that's
Like,
right.
I'm a step below them. And some
So
of that
I'm
is
hope
possibly on me because I don't go charging in or I
yes,
don't
right.
demand
That's
stuff. I
right.
kind of, whatever they give me, I flow with it. And if I put a D out there and they say no, then I just roll with it.
Yeah. So I think this could be because remember, she hasn't turned on Naomi. It could be the battle of the I'm tired of this bullshit. That could be them. I would not like to see them on. I'd like to see them on a tyrant by themselves. I don't want them in a tag team. Because I feel like I only want to see them in the tag team if it's leading to something. It's leading to that these two dark characters, like they turn her and she's completely dark. They're both dark, but they have big wins ahead of them.
I see what you're
That's what I
saying.
that's what I would want for these two.
Yeah, like don't throw them together haphazardly. Let it
Yeah,
organically get to. We've been underappreciated. This
that's
company
right.
basically fucked us over, and
Right.
now we're taking it out on everyone else.
Like everything that happened when Naomi left, just kind of I feel like play on that. Play on it because they were friends, right? They were still friends after they
Yep.
left. And yeah, just play on that. That's what I would want to see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Bailey goes. The Becky thing that caught a lot of like heat on the
I hate
timeline,
it.
and then especially that they dropped that title on Raw.
Mm,
So it really was like you did all this for a fucking mania moment, and then lose it right back to Liv and Raquel.
that's right.
So now Raquel's like this 7-time women's tag team champion, which I didn't even realize till
I
they put
didn't
the
realize
graphic
that
up. I was like,
either.
wait, how does Raquel have more title wins and Liv? Wait a goddamn minute.
I
How?
mean,
I
well,
was
yeah,
like,
because she
is
was
that right?
always in a tag team. She was in a tag team with Aaliyah. She was in
And
a
Oh, that's
everyone
right.
forgot about Aaliyah. Like, wait, she was in the company and they won?
yep,
Everyone forgot
That's
that.
right. That's right. I completely forgot about that.
That
Wow.
was early, early.
yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's around
Um,
when they brought the tag team titles back.
got you, got you, got you.
So yeah, so that match was
Yeah.
like you did all this for Becky to have her moment. Well, I
Well,
guess Becky and
she could have
Lyra
just
have
came
her
back.
moment, and then you're dropping it right back. That was,
So she's gonna take that continental title from that girl.
and yes she is, and then it's
She
just gonna
about
fuel
to
the
take
fire
that
of like.
title from that girl.
So it's really like, yo, you either die a hero, or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. You have become what you were mad at years ago.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what she said. That's what she said.
and that's the
Wow.
thing. I think honestly, in no shade, I think that title needs to have a name on it
That's
because
right.
the reality, I'm not mad at Becky if they do have her take the title from Lyra. because as much as she's, I'm sure Lyra is a nice young lady, but she need a little
I
bit
love
of
it when he
season,
says that.
right?
Young lady.
But she need a little bit of seasoning. But once again,
Hmm.
it goes back to that European thing. Let's think
Yeah.
about Becky Lynch when we first saw her. She
Yeah.
didn't have
She
seasoning
was
either,
dry.
and then
She was
she
dry.
went with the horsewomen, and then we started seeing a different thing. It's that
Hmm. And
European sensibility.
she started
And even
peeling
with the
off of other
and even with
people.
the
She taken
horsewoman,
from
she
other
was like
people.
the least of the four.
That's right.
Exactly.
She throughout the years have built that man character on the backs of other people. She has.
I can't speak
She's
to that because I wasn't watching the product then.
yeah.
But I will say, in regards to Lyra, I think she just needs some seasoning. I think they put the belt on her to help build her and to give her a stat,
Hmm.
but she wasn't quite there yet. And I think the only person out of all three of those women's mid card title belts that have actually lived up to the belt and actually tried to make it something is Chelsea Green.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and that's just the reality. Chelsea Green is the only person out of the NXT North American women's, the in women's intercontinental and the women's US belt. She is the only inaugural winner that actually made her belt something.
Yep.
The other two, and I love Kalani Jordan to death, but nah, I think they use those belts to propel talent.
Hmm.
Um, but you also got to make the belt mean something first. And
Right.
when you put it on folks where where it doesn't mean anything, like and then you got Lava in two belts, like what is this? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Right.
it's like one of those things where um I don't know, and I don't want to use the F word favor, but I
Yeah.
don't know if maybe Becky is co-signing this young lady and because she's Becky Lynch, they throwing up bones. But and I
Mm.
don't even know if Becky has that kind of pull, right? I can't speak to that. But it's
Hmm.
just the booking that they have given Lyra Valkyria is just odd because her overall character doesn't speak to this level of booking.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Yep. All right. What? One more.
Main event time. That man versus
Mm.
hustle, loyalty, respect has become you get nothing. John,
Wow.
when I talk about John Cena came out in the fucking was it Times New Roman font in all
No, that
black.
wasn't Times New Roman. That
Yo,
was the Balenciaga fucking
that was Arial.
logo.
Like you're getting the basic Microsoft Office font.
I said, what?
I
I laughed
howled.
so hard.
Oh my god.
I laughed so hard. Um, I thought
And
it
then
was great.
obviously Cody got his entrance, but then
Hmm.
Cena.
Can we talk about that real quick?
Oh,
That was
we
it.
got
Was it was it was cool. It was
That
cool.
Cody entrance, that was one of my favorite entrances of the weekend. Like now I'm from Baltimore, so I'm already have an affinity for the dirt bikes. But
Oh, is that a Baltimore thing?
12 o'clock boys, Baltimore, we got a whole movie about that shorty. But
Oh, it's not shorty.
but like yeah,
nah. Shorty's what Stone Cold did to that
yeah,
poor woman
I
for the
know, right?
ATV. That was Shorty. It's like Shorty. Let's see if you paying attention. Crash.
Right. But that Dirk Cody entrance, I think it was clean. When that mask automatically lifted up like Iron Man, I said, "Oh, this bitch got the juice." You and I'm not even the biggest fan of Kodak. Y'all already know that.
Kodak.
But baby, that entrance,
Hmm.
that entrance was given what it needed to give. The
Hmm.
match,
Yeah.
So the match was what it was, and I know it's interesting to see if this was intentionally done because you have Cena who's refusing to give the crowd what they want. He's like, you when he's really like, you get nothing. I'm not doing the fucking five knuckle shuffle. I'm keeping this as basic. I'm not giving you the elaborate stuff. You're getting my move set dumbed down, and then you
Right.
have Cody who's on his Hulk Hogan. I'm kicking out of everything
Hmm.
where like I think Cena gave that man every type of AAs, regular AAs, super AA, avalanche AA, and
Right.
Cody's kicking out where it's like, so this man he's just saying F your finishers on some like Hulk Hogan 1991 shit. Like,
Stupid.
bro,
Stupid.
Cody, How is this match is gonna end if you're kicking out of
Dumb.
every fucking thing?
It was dumb. I wanted it
It
to hurry
was.
up. I was
I
like,
was
can they
getting.
hurry up, please?
I was getting mad. It was like, dude, Cena's got to do this shit 5 times, and then you get to the end where everyone's expecting Rock, and instead we get Travis Scott in the. It wasn't even running; it was a walk-in. This was the slowest walk-in of all time. Where it's like, I think Travis was
I
like, "You're gonna hear the
died.
entire song.
I died.
You're gonna hear the entire song. I'm gonna come out with a hardcore title. Why? I have no idea why you're coming out with a title. I'm gonna take my stroll ass time while Cody's taking a nap over here to make
Yep.
this make sense.
Yep.
And then you do all this for Cena to, you know, Cody gets the belt. I want to do this the right way. I'm not gonna hit you with the belt. Cena said, "F this," protect the McNuggets, hit you with the belt. One, two, three. Here's your new champion. But it felt like the match was like deliberately like we're gonna be bad on purpose instead of like bad on accident. And I think that's why I think like everyone has a lot of sour taste about
Yeah.
this WrestleMania because like you purposely gave us a shit match,
Hmm.
and we don't know if this is intentional or you just landed here. And then to make it worse, you had The Rock doing McAfee today. I'm like,
I
I was there, but I
really
don't want to come
hollered.
out because I wanted that to be just you guys. Even though it's like, bitch, you
What?
interjected in the first
Right.
place. This whole heel turn is because of you. People are pissed because they want to see you
Right.
in here to add to this story that you created.
Did
It's
you
like, nah,
hear?
nah, nah,
Did
nah,
you
nah.
hear Jonathan Coachman's commentary about this whole situation?
What'd he say?
He was like, like to say for him to even show his face on John McAfee on a Zoom is crazy. It's fucking diabolical. After you were in the building, you were in Vegas. This all started, like you said, because of you, and you don't want to come out because you didn't want to take the shine off of John Cena. He was just like, what? He was like, he thinks he's been in these situations before. He's like, I'm not saying that this is what it is, but it's clear that there's an issue creatively or there's beef. And that's why this whole situation happened the way it did. Because
Mm,
it doesn't, and he didn't say that it was Cena, he said Triple H.
mm.
EVM, your thoughts.
I think that this was totally disrespectful to the fans, and I want to say specifically to the fans who paid a lot of money to sit in that stadium Sunday night.
Yep.
Um, those tickets were not cheap, and I know I keep going back to that, but that's the reality we live in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that finish was terrible, and it deserved the widespread panning that it got.
Yep.
Um, Not only was the match, it was okay, you know, but so much of that was the story. And and
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, I think this is why I was talking to my friend Dustin and a few other folks who, we all have friends in this space, and a lot of people were saying that this is their last PLE for a while. Because when we think about it, the people who went to Elimination Chamber in Toronto and the people that went to Raw in Las Vegas yesterday, they got a
Mm-hmm.
better show than the people who paid for WrestleMania tickets,
They
and that's
did.
not fair.
They did.
Mm.
They
That's
did.
not fair. The people in Toronto, they got to see the Cena heel turn with that whole drama unfold.
Yep.
That was a
Yep.
WrestleMania moment in itself. And then the
Yep.
people last night got that great Raw with all of that
Mm-hmm.
great stuff happening. The people
Mm-hmm.
who paid for those highest WrestleMania tickets, they didn't get that, and that's not fair.
Yep.
So for me, I think this was absolute bullshit. It's no way that you're going to be able to spin this for me and say, "Oh, trust the story. This is story."
No,
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 no.
no, 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 no,
No.
no, no, no. This was garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Seth, Roman, and CM Punk, they did business.
Yep.
This was
Yep.
not business, and
Yep.
it's no. John Cena will not be able to promo himself out of that being bad. He did a good job last night trying to, but
Right.
you're not going to promo yourself out of that terrible ass main event, you know. And I'm glad that Cody didn't talk to the interviewer when they was going backstage after he lost. I think that was a great character move.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just think it was just bad.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Mm-hmm.
just really bad, and it it kind of put a spotlight on, you know The women stole the show.
Yeah.
The women
Yep.
stole the show Sunday night, and um, and they looked like absolute stars doing it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
that was nothing to write home about. And from a purely from a fiscal standpoint, once again, I feel like the people who paid for WrestleMania ticket really got shafted. And it, like
Yeah.
honestly, I should have just paid for Monday Night Raw, and I'd have felt way more satisfied had I did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the card.
That was the card.
That
For better
was
or
the
worse,
card
that
for
was the
better or
card.
worse. I will say if it wasn't for, this being our annual BRP trip, I really wish I would have stayed home outside of that, honestly, because it was just not, as Vivian said, giving what it was supposed to give. It is what it is, but we are here. We're a little over. NXT is on. That
Yep.
was a great show. And we're gonna see what the ruler has to say today. Thank you so much for joining us,
Whew.
guys. We always appreciate it. Thank you, DDM, for stepping in for Corey. I appreciate it.
I
Thank
didn't even
you,
plan
Unbeknownst,
DM.
to, but thank
unbeknownst,
y'all.
yeah, exactly.
I was
Unbeknownst to you,
like, hey, girl, what's going on? What y'all doing? Next thing
right?
you know, I'm doing the whole show.
It's like, well, since I got time, I got thoughts. Like,
Right.
floor's
I'm just,
yours.
I
I'm
knew
just,
he had thoughts. I knew he
I'm
had
Pass the
sitting
thoughts.
mic.
outside the supermarket real quick. Let me go ahead and post up. Flick up, flick
Right.
up.
I appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely.
Um, love seeing the people that I did see. Sorry for the ones that I didn't because it was just super weird, but we'll be back next week. Same bat channel,
Mhm.
same bat time. Hopefully Corey will be back. He will be back. I'm not gonna
He,
say
he should
hopefully.
be. He's in transit right now.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and let's enjoy wrestling as best as we could, right?
Yep. And Mimi,
Yes, yes.
that man is no longer
That man is
champion.
the nightmare's over.
The nightmare over.
The nightmare's over.
Adrenaline left his soul, and so did the title.
Exactly. See y'all on Thursday, 8:35 on the YouTube channel. Love y'all. Peace.
Peace.